Energy Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, October 1st to Saturday, October 7th. So last week, of course, we got the week kicked off with a bang, with the equinox bang, if you will, as we ushered in Libra season. That equinox energy is, of course, a gateway for timeline jumps, for new karma, for the resetting of the scales, so to speak, on the spiritual battlefield, playing field in which we're all currently kind of at war on. We needed to close out September, and I would say that all of us did a great job of kind of seeing where our physical body needed to slow down, a little bit more rest, if you will, in order to allow the energies of not only the equinox portal, but some of the other aspects popping off in the cosmos to actually allow that energy to kind of anchor in, to integrate, to kind of, seep into our DNA. And of course, we have to slow the physical body down in order for those light codes to actually integrate, to actually anchor. So especially midweek when we had the moon move into Pisces, bringing an ending to this last lunar cycle as we prepare to jump into not only a brand new lunar cycle, but a full moon in Aries that we'll talk about here in just a second. We are definitely seeing around the point in time where the moon moves into Pisces energy, where all of us just slow down to a snail's pace. We need to rest. And may I remind you that resting is a very important part of this ascension process. So I get a lot of people all the time saying, oh, I just can't move and I feel lazy and I got so much to do and blah, 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 blah. Like rest isn't important. We really do have to kind of understand that we're stuck in hustle culture right now, and they have us stuck in hustle culture right now so that we're exhausted and we don't have the energy or the focus left at the end of the day in order to actually pour into creator mode, which of course is what we all need to be doing right now. We're just in a particular state, in a mind frame right now, where we haven't really tapped into that powerhouse energy of taking our power back and being the creator and designer of our own reality. So we definitely had a lot of realizations come at us, especially where the body needed rest, where we needed to kind of give ourselves what it is that our bodies were asking for midweek last week. And all of this was building towards the full moon in Aries. So if you're with me here live in the chat Friday evening, first of all, I want to thank you for being here. Secondly, I just want to say that how you feeling? We just had the full moon in Aries reach its peak mass, if you will, at 5:58 a.m. Eastern Standard Time this morning. So many of us woke up to kind of start our day while the moon had already reached its peak. And so it's been a very interesting full moon in Aries day. I would say that the last couple of days were probably more emotionally intense than today actually is. I don't know. You can drop me a line in the comments. Let me know how you feel about it. But there was a buildup. It was supposed to be a boiling point, a pressure point, if you will. This is the catalyst of change. This is the beginning of the end in a lot of ways. And so pay attention to what's going on in your realm, and both your inner realm and your outer realm around this particular full moon event, because this is going to continue. This is going to kind of resonate and reverberate into October, which of course is going to be eclipse season. And those particular moon events going to be directly connected to some of the situations popping off under this full moon in Aries. So of course, we're going to be in this full moon energy for the next couple of days, technically, so there's still plenty of time to download your moon guide if you haven't already. We are moving into October this week. I don't know about y'all, but I am looking forward to it. I feel like October is going to be a very transformative month. I know that phrase is tossed around a lot every single time that we're moving into a new month. It's always like, oh, this is going to be the changing month. Oh, this is going to be transformative month. Okay, well, let me break it down for you on why I feel this is going to be a major transformative month. First of all, we have had a lot of planets in a retrograde, especially those personal planets, because they affect us very, very greatly. We've had Mercury in a retrograde in his post-retrograde shadow period. We've had Venus do the exact same for many, many moons now. We've been stunted out, blocked from making any kind of dramatic change because we needed to sit in the funk and get our inner realms built up, changed, transformed, strengthened to a point where we realize what needs to be done. There's no denying it now. There's no fighting it now. And as we move into October and we clear Mercury's post-retrograde shadow period, we clear Venus's post-retrograde shadow period, and then we see Pluto go direct right before we jump into eclipse season. Okay, so let's talk about the fact that over the last couple of months, we've been using the analogy of a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. So, a couple months ago, especially when Venus retrograded in August, that's when the caterpillar kind of, started plucking all the fur off of them and preparing to build this cocoon for a major change and transformation of identity. We seen that new identity kind of peak around August 13th when Venus and the Sun got together and she was resurrected and she initiated her brand new cycle. But we haven't been able to emerge as this new version of self. Many of us just in this cocoon, dissolving our caterpillar bodies into a pile of goo. The goo is now, I'm going to say this, through Libra season especially, the goo is starting to take form into the butterfly skeleton that we need to have in order to actually turn into a butterfly. We will not emerge as that butterfly until Scorpio season. Scorpio season is where true transformation, the emergence of the new version of self, comes out to play. Now, we're going to be sitting in goo for the, I'm going to say, bulk of October. And we have a lot of inner realm processing to do that we're now going to do with Mercury, headspace, Venus, heart space, clear of their confusion, and moving into different signs. So there is an October energy forecast that I already put out. If you haven't listened to it, I'm going to recommend you do so. Of course, the zodiac forecast coming at you as well. Download your Libra season e-guide. There's all kinds of information and content out there to help you get in alignment with these energies. But what I'm getting at here is that we are gaining a lot more information, details, and perspectives as we're moving through Libra season, because Libra season, although we want to make a decision, very indecisive, so very highly unlikely that we're going to commit to any kind of choice point, any kind of decision, one over the other, until Libra season comes to an end. And then Scorpio season, which I know y'all are like, oh, Scorpio season. As a Scorpio, I get it. Okay, it's not a favorable time of the year. Why would it be? It is very deep, very dark, very intense, very transformative. How do you transform? Well, if you're a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, you got to dissolve yourself, right? Right now, we're trying to dissolve the old versions of ourselves. And you have to kind of turn yourself into a pile of goo, right? Well, we've been sitting in the goo. We're in the goo right now. We are actively building towards this butterfly emergence. But the Scorpio energy is shadow work. It is where we have to merge the divided, fragmented parts that we've been sitting in, right? Our heart and our head hasn't been on the same page. Our higher self, our ego self, not on the same page. Our inner realm and our outer realm, not on the same page. Us with other people, not on the same page. This is what Libra season is going to do, is provide us that balance, that grounding point, that compromise, that meeting in the middle of all of those fragmented parts of self. And we are going to glue those babies together and really kind of operate as a whole version of self as we move into Scorpio season. But guess what? We have eclipse season coming at us live here in October. Fun fact about this, first of all, we dip our toe into the Libra and Aries axis, and we remove our foot entirely from the Taurus and Scorpio axis that, karmically speaking, we have all been learning the hard way over the last 18 months. What's interesting is that both moon events, the solar eclipse, the lunar eclipse, they are both ruled over by Venus. And heads up, spoiler alert, Venus, who clears her post-retrograde shadow period on October 8th, moves into Virgo energy that exact same day. Why is that interesting, you may ask? Well, first of all, Venus is trying to get her heart and her head on the same page. Who rules over Virgo energy? That is Mercury, my friends. Who is going to be clear of his post-retrograde shadow period, waiting for Venus to clear hers? Mercury. When our heart space and our head space are in agreement, what happens? We can engage the physical body to take action and make moves. What does that suggest? Earth energy. What is Virgo energy? Earth energy. What does Virgo energy want to do? It wants to fix, it wants to heal, it wants to repair. Now, Mercury spent his whole freaking rulership, because he rules over Virgo season, in a retrograde. Literally had 2 days of clarity in his place of power in this Virgo energy before he will be moving into Mercury. Mercury will be moving into the Libran energy. So we have an ability, once Venus moves into Virgo energy and they're both clear of their post-retrograde shadow period, to get our heart and head in alignment, and then to start making the small changes, the small adjustments. Again, Virgo energy, focusing in on the smaller details of where it is that we can create order out of the chaos of our lives, where it is that we can start kind of stabilizing our lives, where it is that we can get heart and head aligned in order to engage the physical body to make the smaller moves in the run of our day to really mirror back to us what it is that we've already arrived at. We've been sitting in this funk. We've been contemplating our choices. Granted, we're not making huge major decisions because the indecision of Libran energy doesn't allow us to do so until the end of the season. But the small little adjustments that we will be making once Venus moves into Virgo energy, these aren't new ideas. This is what we've been contemplating since June. So we're definitely going to see that get up and go. We have, again, like I said, I'm not trying to do a rundown of October's energy forecast because I think I did a much better job in that, whole astro forecast that I just put out here. But we have Pluto going direct. We have Mars moving into his rulership prior to the eclipse seasons. That Venus is in rulership of both events. To me, that is highly significant, that what it is that we've been holding in our heart space, what it is that we've been kind of percolating on, contemplating on, that we are going to be able to bring that to life. Now, granted, we don't have control in eclipse season. We're at the mercy of the cosmos. We're about to get sorted out in a big way. So if you failed to put yourself on the path that you needed to be on in order to reach your soul's mission, your soul's purpose, the eclipse energy going to throw some wild card events at you in order to sort you out and put you where it is that you need to be. So let's not worry about that so much. But we got a lot going on, and this is why I say to you, October is going to be the month where we're going to start seeing a little bit of forward momentum and being able to actually identify where the changes, the transformations are actually taking hold in our physical realm. It's not just a thought, not just an emotion, not just an idea. It's actually happening. Now, this is going to be a beautiful thing. We're going to have the energy of Libra season give us the opportunity to try and balance those scales out with every kind of twist and turn that's coming at us. And then, like I mentioned, we're going to move into Scorpio season, which is going to be the change, the transformation, when that butterfly busts out of that cocoon and tests his wings out for the very first time. That is what we're waiting for. So I know I got a little bit off track, but if you've been with me for any amount of time, you know that the rants can just happen. The tangents can just happen at any point in time. I was going on a rant about what we could expect this week. So we're jumping into October. October's transformative for the reasons in which I just listed. Yes, we're clearing Mercury's retrograde shadow period on the 1st. We see Mercury sit in his place of power in Virgo energy until the 4th. That's when Mercury's going to move into Libran energy. And let me just tell you, if we had tunnel vision goggles on while Mercury was in Virgo to focus in on the smaller details of our habits, of our narrative, of what is broken, of what needs to be fixed, then we take those tunnel vision goggles off in Libran energy, and suddenly we have a bigger, broader perspective for us to kind of pick apart. Keep in mind, Libran energy needs us to focus on the pros and cons. We sit on the fence about everything. We're trying to debate which side has the greener grass, how we can better the side that doesn't have the greener grass. We are more open to kind of express ourselves. We're chatty Cathys. Keep in mind, though, the Libran energy, Libra season, we're all wearing happy-go-lucky, bubbly masks. We're masking the deep, dark, intense, complex emotions. We want to stay in the shallow end of the pool with our conversations, with our ideas, with our collaborations. We only want to take it so far. But because we're moving into the last week of Venus being in her post retrograde shadow period and Leo energy, we're really going to start seeing where perspectives are changing, where feelings are changing, where it is that we're starting to try and get our heart and our head on the same page. And that means that we're receiving a lot of clarity, which is what we've all been praying for. We've been sitting in confusion for a very, very long time. We're definitely moving into a point in time where we're gaining clarity. We're gathering the information, the details required in order to make an informed decision that, again, will not happen until Libra season comes to a close. Okay, so let's jump into some homework issues before I start going on another rant, which I'm sure will happen here in just a second. So let's just start off with me saying thank you. I want to thank you so much for being here, for liking, for sharing, for commenting, for dropping emojis in the comment section below. This is helping the algorithm. As we've been talking about, YouTube got it out for me. They don't like me so much. I don't know how to change it. So all of these interactions with my channel, with these videos, is helping to put this information in front of the people that absolutely need it. I thank you so much for that. I thank you for the ongoing love and support. As I previously mentioned, there's an October energy forecast out there for you to listen to. Kind of gives you an overview on what it is that we're diving into for the month of October. There will be the zodiac forecast available to you as well. You can find them on my website, or you can find them over on Patreon. Heads up, you no longer have to be a Patreon member in order to download or purchase additional content from the Patreon website, channel, page. I don't even know what to call it. I'm really not good with these platforms. Anywho, I'm just trying to expand on where I can kind of, get this information, get this content out. So now, Patreon has opened up the door to have all of these things included on Patreon without you needing to become a member in order to access them. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but nonetheless, you can still find everything that you're looking for on my website. Again, going to encourage you, we're still in this full moon energy, going to encourage you to download the moon guide. There is still plenty of time to kind of get in alignment with these energies, unpack what you need to unpack, release what you need to release, and get in alignment for this next chapter. We have reached the halfway point, the halfway marker in this astrological calendar. We have the first 6 months behind us now. We're at the peak of the mountain. We're seeing new horizons actually unfold before us where new possibilities are concerned. And from now until the end of the year, I'm not going to say that we're on a downward spiral because that kind of sounds like we're going to, hit rock bottom again. But it's much easier to walk down a mountain than it is to climb your ass up. Okay, so we just need to understand we're going to take a different perspective, a different route. We're going to take a different pace. We're going to have a different footing from this point until the end of the year. And when I'm talking about the end of the year, I'm not talking about the end of 2023. I'm talking about the end of the actual calendar, which of course takes us into March. Okay, so the Libra season e-guide is also out there and available for you guys to download if your heart should really want to do the shadow work that is required in order for you to level up and actually see yourself kind of align with your soul's mission, your soul's potential in a shorter amount of time. This is what all of these resources are to do, is to kind of fast forward what has been for many people a very low, slow, painful process of ascension. So, you can definitely scroll through my channel. You can scroll through anywhere on any of my platforms, and you will find comments that from people that have been taking this content on, doing the deep dive into their shadow work and the changes and transformations that have come in their lives because of it. Okay, so it works. It's just a level of commitment, a level of wanting, needing, and desire a true change. And we're in a perfect position right now to really align with these new energies as we just entered into a new karmic chapter to get the party started. So that's why all of those resources are created for you to access whenever it is that your soul feels like, you're ready to kind of take it to the next level, to fast forward through some struggle here, to kind of clear the trauma out of your physical body, and to really kind of amp up this particular journey to the next level. So with all of that out of the way, let's jump in and talk about some ascension symptoms. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of mention that we have to continue to remind ourselves that when topics and themes hit the mainstream media, such as, I'm just going to throw a couple of things at you here because it's just ridiculous. Britney Spears with the knives, Taylor Swift and whoever that football guy is, okay? All of those are pre-scripted events. So if you haven't realized as of yet that celebrities are actors and that are basically manipulated puppets on the greater, grander, let's call it stage or circus, I would prefer to call it. There are a lot of, I'm going to say, scripted events that are meant to capture the attention of the collective so that we're not pouring the attention onto the areas of life in which we need the attention on in order to raise consciousness. So I know many of you out there, you're just like me. You're like, I don't subscribe to the news. I don't watch TV. I don't try to stay up on it. I only know about it because people ask me my thoughts on it. I really wish I had somebody ask me about my thoughts about, I can't even remember who the artist was, but their new song or something. And I don't know. I don't listen to music. You know, the music that I listen to is not the music that you're going to listen to on radios or the mainstream media. Why is that? Well, because they've tweaked all of that music to a 440 hertz, which actually goes against our energetic auric field. We want a 432 hertz. They manipulated all of the music many, many years ago, knowing that they're going to keep a certain type of suppression of the energetic and ascension abilities of the people by tweaking the music. Now, talking about frequency for a second, I want to also kind of give you a little bit of a glimpse into some of the things that I'm realizing. Now, I don't know that it's a new realization because I've known it for a bit, but I think that we're seeing it more and more in the news or on the mainstream media. And what I'm talking about is events where you find large gatherings of people, yes, for like sporting events, but sporting events aren't organic at all. They're all predetermined. They're all scripted. They always know who's going to win. It's always predicted. It's always a setup. So for those of you who are still kind of immersed in sporting events, hate to tell you, hate to burst your bubble, but none of that is real. But most specifically, music events. Now, the reason why we want to talk about music, and I guess I feel called to talk about music here today, is because it's a vibration and a frequency that can hurt, that can harm, or it can help. And for the majority of the collective out there who have had their Jabberwockies, they need to make sure that they're not around large groups of people and music festivals, which is kind of an oxymoron considering the fact that they got the Jabberwockies in order to take part in those particular events. You really want to resist those types of arenas because the vibration, the frequency of the music that's taking place through those music festivals are activating a certain substance in those, I'm not using any words here, in those Jabberwockies that create health issues. And that's why you see groups of people suddenly come down with, these negative symptoms, these negative effects. And in some cases, while groups of people are dying. Okay, so if you need to go back and listen to my 2023 forecast, I said specifically because Saturn, of course, is in a water sign in Pisces energy where death and endings are taking place, that we're going to see a lot of death, right? And we're already seeing the fallout of this, the little experiment that they wanted to throw at us here a couple years ago. We're already seeing that. Now I'm tying it in for a reason. Trust me, I have a plan here. Anywho, the circus, such as organized sports, goes all the way back to the Roman Empire. As long as you keep people fed and entertained, they will not rebel. They will not revolt. That was the whole premise of, Rome, right? Just, are you not entertained? Are you not fed? As long as people are consumed with such things, they are not putting themselves in the creator consciousness that we all need to be in. And I feel like, and I'm wrapping this back up here, you see somebody like Taylor Swift, who I don't listen to her music. I don't really enjoy it. I mean, she is involved in the quote unquote little group of dark agenda people here, but she brings in a level of people, of young people, of voting age Jabberwocky people to her concert forums. In the same token, and there's a lot of gematria numbers and symbolism about this scripted partnership that she has with this football guy. And forgive me, I don't pay attention to music. I don't pay attention to sports, so I've never heard of this dude. Anyways, he brings in a whole different kind of demographic and was in support of some of the creators of this Jabberwocky. So to see these two kind of be ignited or reunited, or I don't know, it's a very strategic, I'm going to say, relationship dynamic. And we see it all the time with celebrities. Most of those celebrity relationships, the celebrity drama that, you know, so many people are distracted by, it's all made up. It's all just, you know, a narrative that they're trying to push, that they're trying to pull. And so, you know, this week in particular, I'm going to speak from my Canadian center point here for a second. I don't know if you realized that our dictator in control up here did a foolish thing here this week. And again, it's a word I'm not going to say. However, it has a very dark past. And there was a standing ovation for these dark past people in our parliament. Now, it's this kind of stuff, and it's also the kind of stuff that, you know, Canada just cut. I think it's a $1 billion budget for our NATO. And we all know what NATO is kind of doing out there in the world. If you haven't understood this whole Ukraine-Russia war thing as of yet, I mean, that's beyond you if you haven't realized what's going on there yet. But, you know, politics are the way that they are because the common person doesn't care about the politics. The common person cares about T Swift and her new boy toy footballer guy. Okay, that's what they care about. They care about, you know, the Kardashians. They care about all of these things that media pushes in your face to distract you from what is really going on, which is the attempt to unite all the countries in a one world government. That's what the plot is here. So when it comes back to frequency, when it comes back to music, when it comes back to big grouping events, if you are Jabberwocked, I would suggest that you stay clear of those particular events because you're likely going to have a flare up of symptoms coming out of that. Now, I have a group of people, I would call them my extended family, who are sleepers, who are Jabberwockied, who, you know, go out and do all the music festivals and all the things, who have had the CVID many times, even though they're Jabberwockied multiple times, right? Like, I just can't with these people. I keep them at a very, very long distance away from me, but they all went to a music festival. I don't think it was last weekend. I think it was the weekend before. They all went to a music festival. It was an outdoor music festival. And all of them got the CVID within 3 days of that music festival. Now, you're not going to tell me that that was a transmission of a virus. You're not going to tell me that that was interacting with a large group of people. The one commonality that came out of that from that small group of people and from people that they know that I heard of, you know, secondhand of, is that all this huge group of people, they all fell, I'm going to say ill, with the same signs and symptoms of the CVID after a music event. So, you know, you have to pay attention. Here's where I'm going with this. You have to pay attention to what it is that you're allowing yourself to consume, right? We talked over the last couple of weeks because I feel, you know, we're in this particular chapter of the awakening right now where we all have to be better at being creators, which means that you have to be more consciously aware of what it is that you're willing to consume. Therefore, you may need to switch up the way that you've been doing things. Now, even for those of us that are not Jabberwockied, I don't know about y'all, but as a very sensitive being, a sensitive soul, I can't be around a whole lot of people. I know that, you know, everybody has different psychic abilities and, you know, can pick up on different energies in different ways. For the most part, I stay at home. Me and my dogs. It's a very small, little, peaceful, calm little world. I do not enjoy going out into the world. I do not enjoy being around a lot of people. You couldn't pay me to go to a sporting event, to a music festival. You couldn't pay me to go anywheres that has a lot of people, whether they're awake or unawake, doesn't matter to me. It is a lot of energy that right now, as light workers, we're already processing the shadow part of the collective. I don't know why anybody would want to put themselves in a situation to pick up on the trash energy of a lot of the people that are just walking zombies out there in the world. Okay. So you have to be careful of where you're putting yourself as far as physical environments go, as far as being around too many people go, as far as putting yourself in situations to have an environment dictate for you what it is that you're bringing into your body, whether that is news, whether it is gossip, whether it is a story, whether it is music, whether it is a sporting event, whatever the case may be. Whenever you're the one kind of going to be entertained and you're the one kind of allowing yourself to just take it all in, that is a consumer mentality. Now, we're not saying that it's not okay to be a consumer. This is how we share. This is how we collaborate. This is how we evolve. But you have to be careful of how many times you're going to the circus and then still complaining that you're afraid of clowns. Why do you keep going to the circus if you're afraid of clowns? This is what I don't get. So we have to be a little bit more careful with what it is that we're bringing in, what it is that we're consuming as far as information and food go. Now I'm building to something here, so stay with me. What we're going to be experiencing this week, and again, you may want to listen to last week's Ascension forecast because I talked about the recalibration, the realignment that we're going through, especially with the new equinox energy, the karmic chapters, this new version of self trying to emerge. That was a pretty good one. I'm not going to repeat that in this one, but what I am going to say is that we are getting to a point here where we have to be more focused on nourishment. Okay. Nourishment. We need nourishment for our mind. We need it for our body. We need it for our soul. Okay. We need to become a little bit more focused on providing ourselves with nourishment. Many of us have been, I'm going to say, on autopilot. Even if you're awake, there is an autopilot button where if you are not present in the moment, in your here and now, in your physical body, you're all over the place and you're not in control of A, what you're bringing in, B, of what it is that you actually need, and C, what it is that you should be creating within yourself. So we have to slow the roll down a little bit. We have to be a little bit more focused on what we're consuming, what we're creating, and where it is that we need to provide ourselves, mind, body, and soul, with more nourishment. So in your physical body, this may be the food that you're eating. In your mental plane, this could be the information that you're bringing in. In your heart space, this is the emotions that you're not processing and therefore creating an energy blockage because you're holding on to that weight, that pain, that trauma. We need to nurture ourselves and nourish ourselves. We are in a brand new karmic chapter. We are building brand new foundations and structures in our physical realm. We are emerging as our brand new version of self. It is time to play the game, switch things up, understand what we were doing as far as old habits go, and where it is that we have the ability to improve on how it is that we are treating ourselves. Okay, so why am I talking about this? Because Libra season is about relationships, but the minute that I say relationships, everybody's mind defaults to their significant other or the lack thereof of a romantic partner. That's not what I mean when I say relationships. You have a relationship with everything and everyone around you. That is a relationship dynamic. You have a different relationship dynamic with your friends than you do your family, than you do your coworkers, than you do with the guy at the grocery store. But they're all relationship dynamics. And let me throw something at you here. Libra season is about us strengthening the relationship with thyself. This is what the full moon in Aries was all about, was disrupting, creating chaos, acting as the catalyst for major change to actually take place so that we can break away from being too intertwined and interconnected with other people and we can start getting to know ourselves again. Libra season is the point in the calendar where we need to realize that everything outside of us is a projection of everything inside of us. Everyone outside of us is a projection of the relationship with ourselves that we have within us. Libra season mirrors back to us where it is that we're at, what it is that we have to work on, where it is that we have to grow, what it is that we have to improve. This Libran energy is about relationships, and because this new version of self is emerging, we have to create the space in order for it to be anchored in, which means that we need a disruption. We need a shakeup in order to create a conflict, in order to create a space where we have to try something new. And that something new is pulling back so that we can pour into ourselves. Again, nurturing and nourishment. So here we are building the relationship with ourselves, but most people are super concerned with the relationship that they have with other people. Well, that's because you haven't built yourself up in a way that makes you strong and stable and secure enough to count on yourself. Does that mean that we all need to be hyper independent and not have any relationships? Nope, that's not what I mean. You can have a relationship with an individual but not give it any energy. You can have a relationship with an individual and not allow their thoughts and opinions to influence who it is that you are and what it is that you do. When we're talking about breaking away from the relationship dynamics that we're currently going to be learning in the most tough love life lesson kind of way because of the nodes of the moon being on this Aries and Libran axis for the next year, what I mean by that is that we're manipulating the energy exchange within the relationship dynamic. So when you hear me say, yep, we may be cutting people off, that doesn't mean that we may be tossing them to the side and removing them from our lives as much as it means taking back our energy so that we're not as affected by them, by what they say, by how they feel, by how they interject themselves into our lives, by what's going on into their own realm. So many of us are so intertwined with the people that we share time and space and energy with in our physical realm that if something happens to them, we automatically take it personal, like it's happening to us too. And although that is very sweet, although that is very, very supportive, it is a waste of your energy. You have to have strong boundaries with your energy. And this is where we're pulling away to pour into ourselves, where we have to nurture and nourish the relationship with ourselves first and foremost. If you have a relationship dynamic right now in your life that is causing you a lot of pain, a lot of trauma, a lot of conflict, you need to take a good look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, first of all, where did this originally stem from? Not in the relationship dynamic of your all's existence, but within you. Because you wouldn't be having this conflicting relationship if there wasn't a wound still alive and well within you that attracted this particular situation, person, and circumstance to you in order to learn the hard way what it is that you have to heal and repair within yourself. Again, anything outside of you is acting as a mirror for the inner reflection that many of us avoid in actually taking to see where the problem originated. 9 times out of 10, it originated in the home, in the family dynamic, with a relationship with your mother, with your father. Everything that we observe within the first 7 years of our lives is what has made up our unconscious programming. And therefore, whatever wounds that you're experiencing as an adult has an original wound that was created in you, in your inner child, in the early development stages of who it is that you are and what it is that you observed. So again, this is the time where we have to take the hints and clues taking place in our external realm. We have to move inward and see where in us we've created this situation and circumstance in order for us to heal. Again, nurturing and nourishing this new version of self. Okay, so with that being said, there's going to be a lot of heart activations, especially through this week as we're clearing the post-retrograde shadow period that Venus has been in. We're going to be gaining a lot more insight, a lot more clarity. We're building in the boldness and the bravery and the courage that we need in order to actually take action, to make the moves in order for us to recreate, redesign, restructure our physical realms to look good, to feel safe, to feel secure, and remove anyone or any aspect out of our physical lives that is going to hold up the progress of us being able to recreate the physical realm that is more nurturing and nourishing than the current situation and circumstance that we previously found ourselves in. We are orienting ourselves to happiness, to joy, to pleasure. first and foremost. Now, those heart activations are going to come with some major epiphanies that we will be having that will have a physical effect on our headspace. So yeah, the headspace has been kind of feeling dizziness, a little bit of euphoria, if you will. There's been a lot of itchiness in the scalp. There's been a lot of sore spots, moving headaches. There's going to be some bubbling, some popping. These are all indications of clearing out the gunk, clearing out the confusion. This is setting us up, especially once Mercury moves into this Libran energy on the 4th. This is setting us up to have a little bit of a bigger, broader perspective to sort through the pros and cons. This is a time of processing. We're going to express ourselves, get a couple of things off of our head space, off of our heart space. Then we're going to need to step back. We're going to see how other people respond to that. According to how they respond to that, according to the thoughts and feelings that get triggered in their response to what it is that we have to say, what it is that we have to get off our chest, then we're going to go at it again until we find a middle common ground. That's what this Libran energy is all about. Compromise, about negotiating, about reconciling, about finding balance, about making peace, about coming to terms of acceptance with some of the situations that have already popped off and that will continue to pop off throughout the month of October in its entirety, because relationship dynamics are definitely a major, major focus. So with that, we want to see the itchiness kind of, I'm going to say, continue, because itchiness, especially on the scalp, around the crown of the head, is a healing in the connection that we have to other people, into the collective, if you will. The crown connects us with everything. So we're bringing new information in. We're sorting through it. Yeah, there's going to be some weird sensations in the headspace because of it, because we're clearing that post-retrograde shadow period. The confusion is leaving, and we're jumping into a new energy, which is going to help us find a happy middle ground. Now, we might be feeling a lot of instability in our walking. Maybe we're bumping into things. Maybe the dizziness is getting to us and we're kind of staggering our steps, if you will. A lot of this is the teeter-totter syndrome that we will continue to experience throughout Libra season in order for us to balance the scales. Now, we talked about how Libra season is going to highlight a lot of difference in the left side versus the right side of our bodies, the front side of our bodies versus the back part of our bodies, in order to indicate where the time and energy and attention needs to be focused now in order to heal, fix, and resolve some of the issues that are out of whack in our physical form. The teeter-totter, don't fall down, that is very real. We feel like we could fall down. Our legs are not as strong as we would like them to be. We're not ready to take action, to take steps in moving forward. We're not ready for that. We want to. We feel like we have ants in our pants. We feel like the energy is building up in our physical legs, and we just want to, sprint. We want to do a run, Forrest, run, and just get that energy out. But we're at a standstill. We're almost in a state of paralysis, where we're taking like one baby step inch forward, and then that we had to drag the other leg up in order to stand there and realize that, yeah, I'm not going to fall down. I feel pretty stable standing here. But the minute that I go to try to take another move, suddenly I feel like my world is all upside down. My legs are all jittery, and I don't feel like I can trust them to keep me upright. That's okay. Lean into that. That's the uncertainty of the new land, let's say, that we're moving into. Uncharted land. We're in a new timeline. We're in new soul contracts. We're in a new karmic chapter. We haven't been on the spiritual playing field or battlefield, whichever you prefer to call it, before. We're taking our time getting familiar with this new environment, with this new territory. So we just want to make sure that we're all kind of standing upright, if you will. We are all kind of reaching the I've had enough, I can't take this anymore, shit needs to change kind of mood and attitude, and that should have very much been triggered and acted as a catalyst under this full moon in Aries. This is the breaking point that we need in order to kind of initiate the beginning of the end. And this happens every single time we jump into a new karmic chapter, and every single time that we level up to new timelines. And we need to reach this breaking point, because the breaking point is provided by the old self having outgrown some of the situations, circumstances, and life lessons that now we need to let go and move on from. But many of us, especially in our egoic programming, have a hard time letting go of the things in which we've already created, because we really don't trust the fact that something better could actually arrive in its place. And so we hang on for dear life to things that we have no business holding on to, and really kind of cluster effing the amount of progress that we're able to make in a short amount of time. We are reaching this enough breaking point in order for us to tap into a new emotional cycle, which of course the full moon in Aries is providing us with as of right now. When I say emotional, most people think, sadness. Most people think like, pain, trauma. What I want to say is that we're moving into emotional badass cycle. We're moving into an emotional warrior type of spirit cycle. You can be emotional in a revved up kind of way that has no pain, that has no sadness, that has no grief. This is the, you know what? Tell me I can't, and I bet you $10 million I can. This is spite. This is fire. This is flames. This is passion. This is desire. This is aggravation, irritation, acting as the fuel to the fire that we need to keep burning in order to blaze this path forward, to cut down, burn down the cords, the connections, the element to the past that are preventing us from actually aligning with a path that is more in alignment with our higher selves than the world in which we've just created and are currently walking away from. So we're moving into this like hard ass, tell me I can't so that I can, tell me I can't so I can prove you wrong type of era. And it's a beautiful thing. We need this energy. Many of us, especially while Venus was retrograde, sitting in the victimhood mentality. The, oh, poor is me. Oh, let me give you a list of all the things that happen in my life so you can feel bad and shed pity on me. That's where most of us were at. Well, we've climbed our ass out of that dark pit. Yeah, it's been taking us some time to build in the emotional strength that we need in order to light the fire in our heart space and in some cases under our ass to move forward and to set fire to the bridges that we have now successfully walked over and that we no longer want to go back and revisit. Okay. This is the mood. This is the attitude. This is the vibe that we need to be moving into. Now, last week I talked about the time warp. So many of us experienced a lot of interesting things with time. I'm thinking this week we're likely going to see a slow up in time. And I talked about this with a couple of individuals. There was one day there, I think it was Wednesday. It was like the same time for like 6 hours. Like it was insanity to me. It's almost like we came into this equinox gateway and everything was rapid firing and everything was like very confusing and very euphoric and just all over the place. And then all of a sudden it just stopped. And an interesting fact, I know Canada, especially Atlantic Canada, knows what I'm talking about. Not sure if the other world knows about it, but something effed up happened with our sun, with our moon. Like, let me tell you, the simulation was broken. Whoever runs the sun and moon simulator, they need to be fired because they messed up big time. I'm sure if you want to do some digging on social media platforms, you can find lots of clips of the sun and of the moon to show you what it is that I was talking about. But we have definitely shifted timelines here, and I think we can all agree that everything is whack. We might not be able to describe it, put it into words, or really identify or pinpoint what exactly has changed, but the overall vibe is something is just off. Something just doesn't feel right. Now, I want to talk about the fact that time is likely going to have these bursts where it super speeds and suddenly we move through 12 hours like it was 10 minutes and then all of a sudden it's just at a snail's pace. And like I said, there was one day there where it was the same time for like 6 hours and I just couldn't understand like what is happening. You know what I mean? Like, is it just me? Are my clocks broken? Like, what is going on? Why have I lived the same freaking hour for the last 6 hours? It makes no sense. Anywho, I suspect, especially seeing as we're getting sucked into eclipse season now, there's going to be a lot of different circumstances with time warps. So that is likely something that we're going to continue to experience. I want to talk about how the dream state or sleep state has changed as well, especially since coming into this equinox energy. And many of us, again, not getting as much sleep as we want, but surprised that we're still functioning on the lack of sleep. that we've actually kind of have to work with here. Our dream state is shifting again. You should see a dramatic change in your landscape in the certain circumstances, situations, cryptic messages coming at you in your dream state. Again, all of this is a level up. And again, there are multiple versions of you living different timelines. And therefore, when we all kind of have this level up, we need a little bit of time to recalibrate, realign. And there are different versions of you doing something similar, but very different in a different timeline, that when you here in this timeline kind of fall asleep and your body goes into a state of rest and your soul and spirit head to the astral realms, this is why we're being kicked out after 2-3 hours, because there's an overlap. And of course, you can't meet yourself on a different dimension, in a different plane, or something just funky happens in the whole simulation. And I think that many of us, many versions of us, are finding ourselves in the same astral plane until we can kind of sort things out here. And that's why our physical bodies are getting jolted after like 2-3 hours of sleep. We wake up, we got to start all over again, likely because a different version of us ended up in the astral realm that we would have tripped over and just created a little bit of a catastrophic event in our own timeline. So I think that that's why our sleep state has definitely changed as well. Back to the nourishment concept for a little bit. I want you to know hunger, thirst, definitely going to be on the rise here this week. I want to just kind of say to you that comfort foods comfort the physical body, but don't necessarily do a whole lot for the life force energy that our soul and our spirit needs. So again, Libra season, compromise, give your body what it wants, but also give your soul, your spirit, your energetic, your auric self what it needs as well. The thirst is definitely coming on strong, and it doesn't feel like our thirst is being quenched at all. A lot of that is because we have a serious thirst for information, for knowledge, for the details that we currently feel like we're lacking in order to make an informed decision. The urgency to commit to a choice, to a decision, to a path, to a direction is overwhelming. And this is why we're just like on a scavenger hunt for as much information and knowledge as we could possibly get. It all comes down to choosing the right things to nurture and nourish ourselves with. Again, being more consciously aware of what it is that we allow to take in and what it is that we're consciously creating and putting out. So I want to talk about the hands for a second. I think it was last week we talked about how the soles of the feet and the palm chakras were being activated. This week we're just going to have sore hands, like sore fingers. It almost feels like we've been in the tub for too long. They got all kind of pruny and scrunchy. And you know how sometimes, I don't know if you've had to like wring your own clothes out or towels out, and you know how your hands get all like swollen and red and like sore to the touch. It's that kind of experience that we're going to have specifically with our hands this week. I think the feet, you're going to feel a lot of coldness in your feet. Again, we have cold feet inching step by step, again, towards a new path, a new choice point. But there's still a lot of fear that we're holding in our knees and our ankles and our feet. And therefore, the energy blockage is going to be quite palpable. And you'll feel that in the temperature of your feet. So you may have blasts where your feet are just on fire. And for the most part, though, I feel like we're going to be erring on the cold feet side of things. But pay attention to your hands. And again, nothing really has to happen to these hands. It just kind of feels like your fingers are sore and your hands are tired, and it's hard to, hold your coffee cup. And it just feels like we're extra sensitive with touch. We're picking up on different sensory experiences. And speaking of sensory experiences, the nose this week is going to be a major focus. So many of us have this sniff that isn't related to allergies. It isn't related to a cold. It's literally just part of the realignment, the recalibration that we're going through. And of course, the nose is connected to the third eye. Our third eye is opening up more and more in order to see, the changes in our psychic perceptions, let's say, because we're all psychic. We're all kind of, energetic beings picking up on the subtle energies around us. But many of us through this new karmic chapter, we're really kind of expanding on that sensory experience. Anyways, the sniffing, due to no cold, no allergies, we're just sniffing. A lot of that is because our smell, our sniffer, is being enhanced. Now, we had this a couple of months ago where we were smelling things that actually didn't exist here in our physical realm. We were picking up on the interdimensional bleed, which happens, at a time where timeline jumps and shifts are happening anyways. I want you to pay attention if you're picking up on scents or smells that you cannot connect to your physical realm. So in a lot of ways, like, when we're talking about connecting with spirit, sometimes a spirit will send their cologne or cigar smoke or, a smell that was very specific to them in order for us to realize that we're not alone and that they're with us at that particular point in time. I don't necessarily think that it's going to be so much an individual spirit that's looking to send us a specific smell for our attention, as much as it is realizing that we've raised our vibration and frequency and now we're able to pick up on scents. Specifically, because we're talking about the nose, scents that are coming from other realms. And so, maybe you're smelling apple pie, or maybe you're smelling something not as pleasant, such as like mold or garbage. We want to be very careful and clear about what it is that we're picking up on, because all are very indicative of the situation and the circumstance that you're picking up on from other dimensions. The moldy smell, the garbage smell, that's not the greatest indicator. It does kind of suggest that you do have access and are making yourself accessible to lower vibrational entities from other dimensions. I don't say that to freak you out. It's not a big deal. You just need to protect yourself. But what I'm getting at is that the smells that we're picking up on that don't belong to this dimension can be very indicative of where it is that you're at in your psychic development, where your third eye is opening, and the energy, vibrations, and frequencies that you are connecting to on other realms. Again, very indicative. Good smells are normally good things. Bad smells are usually not so good things. But just be aware of your surroundings, not just your physical surroundings, but your subtle energy surroundings. And the nose, the sniffer, is a great indicator on where it is that you're at in kind of, skipping over other dimensional bleeds. What else do I want to talk about? So there is going to be, I suppose this goes with the sniffing, but there is clearing of the throat. Now, biologically speaking, one would say, oh, well, that sounds like postnasal drip. Well, you would be right, but the postnasal drip does connect to the third eye being activated and awakening to a new level of perception. So, the third eye is exposing us to new vibrations and frequencies that the light spectrum had at this point not been available for us to see. We are picking up on new information, new details coming in from higher realms of intelligence that, of course, is going to stimulate the third eye, which means that the sinus cavity is getting stimulated as well, which means that there's an overproduction of phlegm, of mucus, which means that there could be postnasal drip going down the back of your throat, creating you to sniff to clear your throat in order to kind of get that goo gone. However, because we are in Libra season, especially when Mercury moves into Libra on the 4th, we're all going to just turn up the volume on being chatty Cathys. We have a lot to say, we have a lot to speak on, we need to get it out of our bodies, and we will be clearing the throat until we can be heard. So, I'm just taking, the only other thing that I want to talk about, and this isn't anything new, we've experienced this before, but we're going to go through it again. This week, again, reminder, itchiness is a good indication. It's an indication of healing. However, many of us are going to experience itches that cannot be itched, cannot be scratched, cannot be relieved, cannot be alleviated in any kind of way. So, sometimes you get that itch in your ear that you swear to God you're going to have to stick like a knitting needle in your ear and in your brain in order to itch. I don't recommend doing that. It's not so good. But anyways, my point is that you get these itches in the back of your throat. You get them in your head. You get them in the ear. You get them in the middle of your palm. You get them inside of your body where you're just like, man, I wish I could go in and scratch my liver right now. Wish I could go in there and give my kidney a good little scratcheroo. Whatever the case may be, this is a good indicator that that particular area of your body is going through an evolution, is going through a healing process. And essentially, that itchiness is an indicator that there's some growth, there's some progress, there's some evolution here. And we want to pay attention to where those particular itchies are taking place in our body so that we can understand where the energy is needed now to kind of create the itchiness in other areas of our body that, of course, will help alleviate the energy blockages. So guys, I think that's it. I think that's all I have to share for this week. Of course, it's going to be a fresh, clean start, a new beginning, so to speak. We're definitely going to be feeling those energies moving into October. Again, listen to the October energy forecast, download your zodiac forecast when all of those are available to you so that you can kind of get the bigger, broader picture on what October is going to be. I think October 1st, landing on a Sunday, the sun in his rulership on Sundays, right? This is a good start. This is going to be a powerhouse month. Yes, there's going to be ups and downs. There always is. But considering the stagnancy in which most of us have been sitting in for many, many moons, I think we're up for the challenge. I think we're ready to do the cha-cha-cha. I think we're ready to get on that dance floor, that we're ready to just go with the flow of the music, to see kind of what energy gets thrown our way, and are willing to do the tap dance needed in order to navigate through it. So I thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, I'm sending you nothing but love, and we'll talk to you soon.